Sherlock completely in the shadows. This would mean that nobody could read Sherlock, but he could read everything about them, from the changes in facial features to the very clothing they wore, and so he could tell whether or not they were concealing anything from him. Now around this room, you'll see a few of Sherlock's greatest possessions, from the pipes he kept on his wall just down there, to his chemistry set here, where he would conduct his scientific experiments. And of course, we cannot forget his world-famous violin, for which he was a very proficient player. Now, Dr. Watson also shared this space, and over here you will find Watson's desk. Here he kept his medical texts, his bag of medical tools and equipment, and various civilian items, such as these Indian elephants up here, and this 1881 copy of the Times newspaper. Now 1881 was the very year that Sherlock and Watson met, and this newspaper, along with everything else you'll see today in this museum, are Victorian. So I must ask that you do not touch any of the artifacts. However, you're more than welcome to take as many pictures as you would like. Now, the most important part of this room is actually right behind you there. You see, Sherlock was rather bored one day. He had not solved any cases recently. So like any bored individual would, he got out his pistol and bang, bang, bang. He shot the initials of his queen into the wall. VR for Victoria Regina in Latin, or Queen Victoria in English. Now if you would like to follow me into Sherlock's bedroom, I will continue the talk, and you're more than welcome to come back in here in a moment. Thank you. Come in. Nobody happens today.
Abu Adiba. Abu Adiba.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to Sherlock's bedroom. Would you like to come forward? Now this room can tell us an awful lot about Sherlock's personality and character. From the books he would keep on his windowsill just behind you here, and of course his Persian slipper filled with tobacco that is upon the fireplace beneath this mirror. Now, one of the more interesting aspects of this room, if you'd like to come forward, is right behind me on this wall. Now, these are who Sherlock referred to as his closest and dearest of friends. However, they are not friends from his childhood, nor are they family members. Every single individual is a real-life murderer, thief, or serial killer. From Mrs. Mary Ann Cotton up here, who was one of the very first female serial killers, who killed 23 individuals, and 5 of whom were her husbands, to Dr. Thomas Neal Queen, who would drop poison into his patient's tea, and upon his deathbed while being hung, confessed to being Jack the Ripper, who of course he could not have possibly been as he was in prison during the crimes. To finally, Mr. Franz Müller up here, who was the very first person in the world to commit murder on a train, and ironically made trains safer, as afterwards people realised train carriages should have doors. Now behind you here, you will find Sherlock's bed. Now Sherlock in the books described himself as 6'4" or 6'5", which would have been gigantic in the Victorian period. And you may be wondering how he can possibly fit in such a tiny bed. Now, in the Victorian period, you should know that everyone slept sitting up. So of course this could fit anybody of 6'5" or in fact taller. People believed that if they laid down, spirits would come from beneath the bed, get into their heads and make them sick. So by sitting up, they could escape the bad dreams and bad health. Now you're more than welcome to have a look in this room and of course go back into the study. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me and I will answer. Otherwise, when you are ready, if you'd like to go upstairs, you'll find Dr. Watson's, Mrs. Hudson's, and of course at the top our Waxwork collection, where you will find Moriarty himself. Thank you.